Welcome to the deep dive. We're looking at the sources behind today's most critical events and decisions. Today, we're diving into Ethiopian Airlines Flight 961, November 23rd, 1996. The plan started simple enough, Addis Ababa to Nairobi, a short hop. But the aircraft, a Boeing 767, was caught in just an impossible situation almost immediately.
Exactly. And the sources really lay this bare from the start. You've got this long-range jet, the 767, capable of flying, what, 11 hours?
Easily, a proper long-haul plane.
But for this short regional flight, they'd only loaded about 3.5 hours worth of fuel.
That mismatch, that's the core of the crisis.
It put the crew in an impossible position. Captain Leul Abate, very experienced, over 11,000 hours, and First Officer Jonas Makuria. Our mission here is really to unpack the sources on how they handled this collision between, well, physics and utter delusion.
And that collision happened fast, just 15 minutes after takeoff, 8:29 a.m. Three men desperate, Ethiopian, apparently seeking asylum, but with no real training, they rushed the cockpit.
Yeah, pure surprise and speed. They used a crash axe, a fire extinguisher.
Yeah.
Beat the first officer, dragged him out, just took over.
And their demand.
This is where it gets unreal. Fly to Australia.
Australia, from Ethiopia on 3 hours of fuel.
Exactly. It was sheer lunacy. Apparently, one of them had an Ethiopian Airlines in-flight magazine. He's pointing at the page showing the 767's maximum range, that 11 hours. He just couldn't or wouldn't grasp the difference between potential range and actual fuel on board.
They thought the pilot was lying about the fuel gauges.
Pretty much, yeah. Total conviction.
Okay, but here's a critical point from the sources. Captain Leul, this wasn't its first rodeo.
No. Unbelievably, this was his third hijacking. He'd been forced to Sudan and Kenya before.
So he had, like, a mental playbook already.
It seems so. He didn't argue long about the fuel. He strategically pretended to comply, agreed to turn southeast.
But not towards Australia.
No. His immediate plan, really brilliant under pressure, was to head towards the Comoros Islands, tiny island chain. Critically, he kept land in sight as much as possible, gave himself an emergency landing option they didn't know about. He was buying time. Every single minute counted.
Playing along while planning ahead. Smart.
But you can't bluff physics forever, right?
Yeah.
The fuel situation was real. With maybe less than 30 minutes left, the low fuel warnings start flashing. Then the right engine just flames out. They're at 39,000 feet.
And they have to descend now.
Have to. But the hijackers, reportedly drunk by this point, agitated, they fought him on it, physically pulling back on the controls, shouting to stay high.
Oh, wow. So a physical struggle in the cockpit while losing engine power.
Yeah, just chaos.
And then Captain Leul does something extraordinary just before the second engine quits.
He grabs a moment. The hijackers are maybe conferring for a second. He makes a secret PA announcement.
In English, right, to the passengers.
Yes. Basically saying, we're out of fuel, expect a crash landing. And crucially, he asked them to react to the hijackers.
Trying to get the passengers to help overwhelm them.
That seems to be the hope. But tragically, it didn't work. Language barriers, fear, maybe fear of a bomb if they rush the front.
And then the inevitable happened.
Seconds later, the second engine failed. Silence. The 767 is now a glider, a very, very large glider.
What about the first officer?
Incredibly, Jonas Makuria, the first officer who'd been beaten and dragged out earlier, he manages to force his way back into the cockpit.
Wow.
So now you have both pilots fighting the controls against the hijackers and basic aerodynamics trying to ditch the plane.
They aimed for the coast.
Yeah, tried to put it down parallel to the coast near Galawa Beach on Grande Comore, but they hit the water and also clipped a shallow reef. The impact broke the fuselage apart almost instantly.
The final numbers are just devastating. 125 people died.
Heartbreaking. But amazingly, 50 people survived, including both pilots.
50 survivors from a ditching like that is remarkable.
It is, and the investigation yielded one absolutely critical safety lesson, something that changed procedures worldwide.
The life vests.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The sources are clear. Many people died unnecessarily because they inflated their life vests inside the cabin before the crash.
So when the plane broke up and inverted in the water,
Those inflated vests pinned them against the ceiling. They couldn't swim down and out through the submerged exits. It was a death trap they'd accidentally created.
and that's why every single safety briefing you hear now stresses, don't inflate until you are outside the aircraft.
Precisely. A hard lesson learned at terrible cost.
There's also the behavioral side, isn't there? Captain Leul's strategy.
Absolutely. His decision to appear cooperative, to use these small strategic concessions, turning southeast instead of directly refusing, it bought time.
Precious minutes.
Minutes that were the difference between likely 0 survivors and 50. That ability to manage an utterly irrational situation, to stall, it's a huge takeaway.
Adapting under fire, even when faced with delusion.
You could argue about which lesson is more vital, the technical one about the vests or the human one about crisis management. The industry learned from both.
It really highlights this clash, doesn't it? The immovable laws of physics, you only have so much fuel, versus this completely irrational, violent fantasy the hijackers had. So, the final thought for you, listening. What really strikes you about the absolute need to ground your decisions in reality, in facts, even when you're facing down chaos and delusion? Something to think about. We'll see you next time on The Deep Dive.